Hey everyone, TheGamingChief here. Today I'm going to be doing a video on setting up automatic restarts with BattlEye-Extended-Controls, or BEC, on your OmegaManager server. If you're looking for more information on OmegaManager, I highly recommend you check out my overview/review of OmegaManager. It covers a lot of the basic features and explains why I ended up moving over to OmegaManager. A link to that video is in the video description along with the top right hand side of your screen right now. This video is broken up into 3 small parts. The timestamps are on screen right now as well. Alrighty, for a quick introduction, as of right now, there's 3 kind of main ways to set up automatic restarts and messages for your DayZ server, and we'll be quickly covering them as I feel it's important to understand the different options that you have as a server owner and how you can kind of go about doing this. And there's more options other than just BEC, even though that's what we're going to be focusing on in this video. The first option is going to be messages.xml, which is actually baked into your server by default. So if we go into our servers folder, go to server 0, and then we go into MP missions, and we go into DayZ Server Plus, and then into the DB folder, we have messages.xml. And as I was saying, this file is built in, so you don't have to download anything, and it just allows you to do very basic messages and shutdowns to the server at a set time. I probably will cover this in a lot more details in a different video, but if you want more information about how this works, just check out this link right here. It'll also be in the video description, and it just kind of explains how this file works. And while this can work if you're just doing shutdowns and restarts, we are using BEC today as it gives us a lot more options than that, and we'll jump into that in just a moment. And then the second option is going to be BattlEye-Extended-Controls, or BEC, which we'll be using in this video. BEC is an external program that interacts with your DayZ server via the Archon protocol. Of course, it features a scheduler that is capable of scheduling messages and restarts, but it also has a bunch of other advanced features for server owners. Some features include a bad nickname kick, non-English name kick, minimum and maximum name links, server whitelisting, etc. BEC is what we'll be using in this video today. And the final third option is a CF Tools control panel instance. This is basically all of the other features but requires a control panel instance, which is currently at capacity. If you want more information about OmegaManager and the CF Tools control panel instance that you can get, I highly recommend you check out the video I was talking about at the very beginning. It's in the video description. And now that we have quickly gone over the 3 main methods, we can get started with setting up BEC. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to this GitHub page. It'll be linked in the video description. And we're just going to go ahead and download the BEC files. So we can just go ahead and click on this right here. So the code button, and then we'll hit download zip. And this is going to go ahead and just download a copy of all of these in zip format. So we can go ahead and click on that to open it. And then we'll need to find a place to put this, so we can go ahead and open up a new file explorer. And then we can go ahead and go into our servers folder, and then in DayZ. And what I typically do is, because each instance is per server, I'm going to just go ahead and put this in my first server. So we're going to be using server 1 for this today. And then I just drop it into the root of that server folder. So we'll move that out of the way. And then let me just double check. Yeah, so that has all the files in it. We'll drag and drop this. It will go ahead and extract it. And we can go and close the zip folder. And then we can go ahead and rename this. I'm just going to rename it to BEC to make it easier. And then now we have all the files right here. And another thing I'm going to go ahead and do is, this isn't technically necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and shut down the server that we're going to be using. And we'll make some changes to this in just a moment. And now that we have BEC downloaded and put in our server folder, we're just going to go ahead and navigate to that folder in our Atom here. And we can see BEC's right here. This is basically just, going through all the files, but it's all in one text editor. And then, so we basically have our BEC.exe, our other files, the BEC guide, which has a ton of information about BEC. If you ever have any questions, definitely check out this. Credits, of course, how to edit the host file. So this is something we'll get to in just a moment. We have the license, of course, and then we have the README file. Again, make sure you read the README. It's very helpful. And then we have our config folder, and this is going to have a bunch of different config files, and we'll get to those in a moment. The first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go ahead and edit our host file, because essentially the creator of this, their website is no longer up, so we have to kind of make it tries to reach out to their website, it can't, and then it closes. So we have to add this line, or these 2 lines, to our host file, so that way we can go ahead and make sure that it doesn't just close. So we'll go ahead and we're going to be going to this location right here. If I can get that, there we go. And then it's going to be in your Windows folder, your system 32, drivers, etc. And then we're going to have our hosts file, and we're going to go ahead and edit this. So we'll actually need to open up a text editor in administrator mode. So in this case, I'm just going to open up Notepad. And as Notepad comes up right here, I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to be running it as administrator. So that's going to ensure we're able to actually edit this. And then we're going to go to File, Open, and then we're just going to specify that that's the file we need to edit. So I just copy and paste the location, and this is looking just for text documents. We'll need to change this to all files. And then we'll find our host file right here. And that's going to go ahead and load up. And then now we can go ahead and copy and paste these in. And now that those are in, we can go ahead and save the file, and we should be good to go there. We can close out of that. And now that we've edited the host files, we can go ahead and close out of this. And we don't need these other files, so we'll go ahead and close out of all of those. And we can go ahead and move on to our config files, and we can kind of get that set up. So the first config file we're going to be looking at is the admins.xml file. And this currently is just pre-filled out with 2 entries. So essentially you can just list administrators in here, and then you can kind of list whatever group name they're in a group. So if we look here right now, I have myself in here. This is my GUID. This is my BattlEye GUID and not my Bohemia Interactive one. There is a difference. Whenever you join the server, it shows up in your logs giving you your BattlEye GUID, and you can also look it up online. And then we have a second one. If I remember correctly, this GUID doesn't go back to anything. This is just showing how you would input a second one. So these IDs have to be counting upwards from 0. So say if we wanted to add a third one, we would go into that. We would make this ID number 2 because they can't overlap. And then we can add their name in, and then their GUID, and then their group and the group name. We'll go over groups a bit more sometime later. We're just going to be looking at some basic stuff for now. So we have that, and I'll go ahead and save this file. And next we have badnames.txt. This is just a very basic document that has a bunch of random names that the creator of BEC determined to be bad. You can remove some, you can change them, you can do whatever you need to do. And it's just 1 word per line, and anyone who joins with that name should get kicked. So we can go ahead and close out of that file. And then we have bad words. If you enable this in the config file, it can monitor chat and give people warnings and kick them if they say certain things on here. Again, you can modify this however you want. We'll close that. And then we have our commands.xml file. This is how you can kind of create different commands. This just comes with some basic ones. I might do a video in the future about all the different commands you can technically create here, and this sign shows you how to use them. Some of these may not be super relevant as they may kind of pertain to ARMA and ARMA 3, ARMA 2 still, but most of these, or at least some of them, can still be used in DayZ. So we can go ahead and close out of that. And then we have our config.cfg. So this is where we're going to have to make some edits. The IP address, unless you're hosting BEC on a device that is not the same server that is running your actual game server, you don't want to change this. This IP is just going to say, hey, it's a local machine, and we want that to be the case. Typically, you wouldn't change this except in some very strange circumstances, so we'll leave that. And then it's going to be the port of the server. The default's 2302, which is ours, so we're going to keep that. And the next we have to set our BattlEye path. So we need to go ahead and get that. So if we go to servers, back into here, and to servers again. So server 0, the BattlEye path is going to be inside of your profiles folder, and then BattlEye. So we'll go inside here. We'll click in here. We'll copy that. And then we'll go ahead and paste that. And that's just so it knows where your BattlEye path is. And then you can, set your admins and your commands. These are all default, and those are admins right there, commands there, so you're good to go. And we can just quickly run through all the different settings. Auto load bans, this was when they used to have like centralized ban servers. You can't really do that anymore. This relates to game hacks. I'm not even sure if game hack versus BattlEye hack is still like a different type of ban anymore in DayZ, but I would just leave this at 3. And here you can specify custom ban files. So it can kind of do a automatic load of your ban files. So for some custom ones. So traditionally, whenever you ban someone, it goes into your bans.txt. But you can also uncomment this file by removing that, and then it'll look for bans 1, bans or file 2, and file 3, and it'll use those as custom ban files along with your bans.txt. You can change the size of the BEC window if you really want to. This is where you can go ahead and make it to where you can only have English characters. And then this is where you can have English only chat. And here's some certain characters that you can ignore even though they may consider not English. You can go ahead and just put any characters in here you want people to still be able to say. And then this is how you set up the warnings before being kicked. If you set this to -1, it won't kick anyone. 0 would be an instant kick. 1 would be if they said one bad word, and then blah blah blah. It kind of goes from there. Again, this only really applies if you have the other things applied. So say if you have the bad words file enabled, then it will go ahead and kick people for stuff like that. Disallowed character names, so if you don't want people to have certain things, you can go ahead and just do that. You can, and if you decide you don't want to do that, again, you can just comment it out. We can set a minimum length to the person's name, a maximum. Just don't change this. It used to be a thing to where it would be common to change this, not anymore. So just leave that as the normal exe name. And this is where we have the word filter file, so we have bad words, and what you can do is if you don't want that enabled, just comment it out, just like that. For now, we'll leave that one disabled. Next is if we want the whitelist file enabled or not. It's currently disabled, and we'll keep it like that, and then it allows you to enter people into the whitelist right there in that file. And then this is the message that would be displayed if someone was to get kicked. And then this also is the file that checks for bad names. Again, you can add a pound symbol there if you would like to disable this. And this is just specifying the scheduler. So if we want the schedule file to be named different or disable it, we just add a pound there as well. Lobby kickers isn't a thing anymore because this is an ARMA. This can generate you different files. It's a bit weird on DayZ for different chats, but it still works last I saw. And then right here is how you can set up like a slot limit type of thing. Just read this block right here. It explains how it all works, but it's essentially how you can reserve 5 slots for admins or stuff like that. So basically how you can have reserved slots essentially. And then it'll just say the message is that, and we're good to go. And then right here is the amount of time BEC will wait for the server to start up. If you are, say, not on a solid state drive or something like that, say it takes you a little longer for your server to get started, you may want to bump this up. Personally, I leave it around 15 seconds. Usually the server should be started in that time. And then the reporter, this thing is long gone. You can ignore that. And then this kind of more applies to ARMA again, so you can kind of ignore that. And then down here, there's some stuff about chat spam, and you can kick people if they start spamming. I personally haven't tested this. I'm sure it probably works on DayZ, but I haven't really tested this. I mainly use BEC for like just the scheduler, commands, a few other things. Typically this is what I'm using it for, so I haven't had time to actually test that yet. So now that we have this file all set up as we need to, the next one is scheduler example. This just tells you how to do it. That link is dead, so that's not going to work, but it just explains everything you need to know about how the scheduler works, how to make changes, what everything does. I highly recommend if you ever make a modified schedule, go through that. It'll help a lot. The next one is a FAQ, and this is just certain questions and stuff like that and how to fix things. Again, a very helpful little FAQ file. And I'm going to skip over the scheduler for just a second and go into the whitelist.txt. Again, this is where you can go ahead and whitelist people. So you enter the user ID and then a name for them. And then this will basically mean if you have whitelist enabled, only these people will be able to join. So we'll go ahead and close all these files real fast. And then the last one is the scheduler, of course. So we have our scheduler file, and this file is currently set up to do restarts every 12 hours. I know a lot of people have kind of wanted to see how exactly they change it, so in this video we'll quickly be modifying the scheduler file to be every 6 hours instead, and you can make this every 4, every 3, it's really up to you. You just gotta spend some time in the scheduler making edits. It's very simple how it works, so your job IDs again have to be in order, so 0, 1, 2, 3 all the way up. And then this is, what days you want it to run. In this case, for our case, we're going to just set it to only, all the days. But you can say if you want it to only run on Sundays, throw 7 in there. The message will only run on Sundays. So you can run special event messages and all sorts of stuff. It's very versatile. So the start time is just when it will start. This will start after 15 minutes of the server being started. It'll run this job for the first time. And then after that, every 45 minutes, it will go ahead and say this message. And this loop is set to -1, so it's just going to constantly do this every 45 minutes. And then we have the next one. I'm not going to go over all these, but this one says at 2200 hours. There's no runtime needed, no loop or anything. It just says, hey, this server's restarting in 2 hours, just a heads up. And it's the same thing all the way down until you get to the server's automatically restarting now. This will say the message 10 times first, and the runtime's set to 1, so it gives like a second break in between each message. And then after that, the next job, which should be triggered, looks like about 5 seconds after this one, is just saying, hey, shut down. And then depending on how your setup is, of course we're focusing on OmegaManager, but you could use bash scripts as well. Whenever you issue the shutdown command, it's going to gracefully shut down the server. And then in our case of OmegaManager, it's going to notice that it is no longer running, and it's going to automatically bring it back up for you. And if you're doing your bash scripts or set up to watch the server, it'll also auto relaunch it. We don't need the script to actually launch the server, we just need it to shut it down, and our other things will handle starting it up again. And it's the basic same thing all the way down here again. So it goes all the way down for another thing for the next 12-hour restart. So what we can do is we can go ahead and quickly modify this file and make it restart every 6 hours instead. So to do that, we're just going to go ahead and start at the very beginning, and we'll just say that this restarts every 6 hours at 12 a.m. Alrighty, and that looks good to me. So every 6 hours, so we have 12 a.m., 6 a.m., 12 p.m., 6 p.m., and then it'll go back to 12. So that looks good to me. So we can go ahead and get started with all of our restart messages. This is going to take a little time. If you want to skip to whenever this is done, there's a timestamp on your screen right now showing you when I finish doing this. So the first one, we're just going to leave that alone. So this is starting at 2200, so 2 hours, 1 hour, all the normal stuff. So we're going, looks like we're good here. Yep, that all looks good to me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. So this entire block, I'm going to copy and then make the edits that we need to. So this is the entire first restart being copied right now. So we'll copy that. We will paste that in right here. And we'll scroll back up until we get to job 1. We know obviously that's where we're at because this one's 11. So we'll change that to 12. And then we just kind of got to modify the time. So this is going to be our notification for our 6 a.m. restart. So in this case, this message should be going out at 4 a.m. So we set that, that's good to go, in 2 hours. Next one will go out at 5 a.m. Next one will go out at 5:30 a.m. Next one, 5:40. Very basic stuff. And let me see here, so we have that. So we're setting, so 5 a.m. for 5:50. So we're at the 10-minute mark, but one thing that I already started to forget to do is to update these numbers. So again, make sure these are going in order. So we'll update those. So we got those updated. So again, 5:50 a.m. And then we'll change this one to 18. And we'll set this to 5:55 a.m. 5:57. You can totally modify these to be whatever you want. You just got to spend a little bit of time in this file. And then for the final one, it's going to go ahead and trigger that shutdown right here. So at 5:59:55, so right there. And then so next we would be moving on to our 12 p.m. This one we don't actually have to change much other than we just have to change these numbers to match. So we'll just go through all of these. Alrighty, so we got this all changed up. So this will do our restart again at 12 p.m. And again, I'm just going to copy this entire block again and then make the changes we need to. So we'll go ahead and copy that entire block. We'll go down here, add some spaces, and then we'll just scroll up until we find where that's wrong at. Yeah, so it ended at 33. So we can go and get this started. This one's going to be 34. And this is going to be our 6 p.m. restart. So in this case, we're going to be saying, hey, this needs to, happen at 4 p.m. instead. So it's going to be at 1600. And then we have our 5 p.m. warning. So that's going to be 1700. And we'll go ahead and update that right there. So yeah, we're just quickly editing all these to match how they're supposed to. Oh, 2, 3. And then we're already to 3-minute warning, so we'll get that in there. I'll change it over to 1700. And this isn't the only way you can do this. There's plenty of different ways. The scheduler is such a complex file that there's so many different ways to approach this. This is just the way I've done it in the past, and this is the way I prefer to do it. So this is all time-based. You can technically set this up to be where it goes based off of how long your server's been running. If I remember correctly, you just remove the colons. I would have to double check that, and it goes off of how many hours your server's been running, how many minutes, and how many seconds. It's been a long time since I've done that. I think that's correct. You'd want to double check in the scheduler example file. But you could set it up so it only does something, every so many hours the server's been up in case you have a lot of mod-based restarts, stuff like that. And we got that updated, so. Alright, so we got that all set up. So this will go ahead and restart us at 6 p.m. And then if we look here, we should be actually good to go on this. So the first one starts, this one, it restarts itself at midnight. And then if we scroll down, it will restart itself at, if we could find it, so 6 a.m. After that, it will restart at noon. And then the last one we just configured will restart itself at 6 p.m. And then, of course, our top one will handle that midnight restart as well, right there. So our file is good to go. We'll go ahead and save that. And now that we have BEC fully kind of set up, we can actually go ahead and get it integrated into OmegaManager. And that's actually very easy. So if we go back to our server folder, so server 0 is the one we're putting BEC on, we'll go into BEC right here. And then we're just going to create a new file. And it's just going to be a text document. So we'll select that. And then we'll just call this like start BEC, if I could type. And then we need to change this to be a bat file or a batch file versus a text file. So we can change this extension to be .bat. So yes, we want to do that. And then if you don't see the extensions, you may have them turned off. You can go into view up here on the top panel and then make sure file name extensions are showing up. So we can go ahead and right click. We can edit this file. This is going to be a very simple file. So we're just going to say cd, so change directory, and then we need to list where bec.exe is listed. So we copy this right here, we do an open quote, we paste it in, we close the quote. So the script will quickly launch, change to this directory right here, And then we'll say, hey, go ahead and start BEC.exe. And then say, hey, our config file is config.cfg. And I think we should be good to go there. So we'll go ahead and save it. We'll close out of that. And then we'll go check out OmegaManager. So we are on our server manager page. We'll go to the server we're adding BEC to into the overview. And we'll go into our Omega instance configuration. So this is where the pre-execution script is. So essentially we'll turn this to on. And once we toggle this on, it's just going to essentially take whatever script we give it, and it's going to go ahead and execute the commands of that script for us before starting the server. So we can go into here, we'll copy that path one more time. So we'll just say, hey, it's in the C servers, DayZ Server 0 BEC, and then it's going to be start BEC.exe, and I'm just going to verify that is what we named it, or .bat, not exe. So we'll change that. So it'll go ahead and run that script. The time limit, I believe this is how many seconds or minutes. I'm not sure. The documentation doesn't really explain how much it is. It doesn't really matter though. The script runs in like 2 seconds max usually. So there's no real need to change this. So we'll go ahead and save changes here. We'll press OK on that. And we'll go to our dashboard. We'll hit launch server. And we're gonna go ahead and have to launch this one time first for the configuration to save. Do a shutdown, restart it again, and then we should see BEC launch with it. So we'll just give this a quick moment to make sure our server loads, and then we'll restart it one more time, and then BEC should open up with it as well. Alrighty, and we can see here that the server did start. I did want to go ahead and let it do a full start before I went ahead and shut it down. So we'll go ahead and let that shut down real fast. This should only take a moment. So it's going to trigger the shutdown. This will say shutdown progress for just a second here. We'll wait on that. And now that it's done, we'll go ahead and hit start, and BEC should be working now. So we'll go ahead and do that. And as we can see, BEC immediately went up right there. And then it's going to say waiting for server startup. So we'll go ahead and wait for that as the server is starting. And then it gave us this problem. It looks like I forgot to specify one thing in that script. So if we go back to here, edit this script, and then I totally forgot, you have to have this added to the end. So this just kind of specifies, I forget even what this is for, but it won't connect anymore without that. So make sure you have that on the end. And then while we're editing this file, we do need to make sure that there's 2 dashes here. One will not work. So we just specify that we're using those 2 dashes, and we'll go ahead and save that file. And we can close out of that, and we'll wait on this, and then we'll go ahead and try to start the server one more time. Alrighty, and we'll give that one another go, and it went ahead and launched up. So it's waiting for the timeout to expire, which is the value that we set in the config file right here. So we have it set somewhere in here. So we have it set to 15 seconds. We may need to make that longer. Oh, it looks like our server launched in time. If your server takes a while to load, just make sure you change that to be a bit longer. So as we can see here, it was able to connect to the server on that port, so that's all good. And it then scheduled 45 tasks, which means that we had no errors in our scheduler file. Sometimes, you mess up a job ID or whatever, it's not in order, it's going to show up in red saying that there's an error, and it should tell you at least that is with the scheduler, so you know where to look. So we know that that's all working. Another error that sometimes people get is they'll get an error about there not being a bands file. So if we go into our profiles folder, go into our BattlEye folder, you do need to have a bands.txt here. And if you don't have one, you literally just new file, new text file, bands.txt. Of course, that's not going to work because I have one named already, but just make sure you have that or else it will error out on you. Alrighty, and that appears to be it. This modified scheduler file that we have right here, I'll go ahead and upload this to Pastebin just for anyone who wants to use the 6-hour one that we created here. It'll be on Pastebin, the link's on screen right now, and will also be in the video description. So this is just in case you want to use that. And really, that's about it. If I forgot anything, make sure you check the description or... Oh, it looks like it just timed out there. That happens occasionally, especially when this takes a long time to load in. As long as you're not continually disconnecting, all good. But yeah, that's about it. If I forgot anything, it will be in the pinned comment and the description below. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment on the video or join my Discord server. Joining my Discord server allows you to DM me without being friends on Discord, just makes it a lot easier. And then hopefully I'm planning on some new videos. One of them might be the scheduler more in advance. There's kind of some stuff you can do, like you can say lock the server at a certain time, you can like try to kick people, stuff like that, which we'll be going over in a later video. And if you guys have any video suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Other than that, have a great day.